Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for coming out today. We're just going to start by introducing ourselves. My name is Jane Stromberg. I'm the Outreach Coordinator at Granite State Solar.
Thanks for the introduction there, Jane. My name is Eric Killens. I'm a solar advisor here at Granite State Solar. Been with the company for 5 years, and just to give you all kind of an idea as to what my job and responsibility is with Granite State Solar is, my role in the company really is to go out and evaluate people's homes and businesses to make sure that, number one, that they are viable for solar. So I will be on this presentation with Jane, explaining kind of the benefits and kind of a solar 101 to start off with.
Thanks so much, Eric. So today we're going to be talking about solar as a technology, energy storage, advantages of solar, types of systems and installations we offer, and of course, net metering. Just a quick direction on questions. If you have anything that comes to mind at all, just throw it in the chat. I'm going to go through that at the end, and some other folks will be looking at that too and monitoring who's jumping in. So we will happily answer any of those questions, and we'll also have just an open question section at the end, just if anything comes to mind then. So, but yeah, we're just going to get through all of this, and then we'll answer any questions that you may have. So let's, without further ado, let's get started. So Granite State Solar, we're not a huge national operation. We're a small local company right here in Bow, New Hampshire. We're made up of a strong, dedicated team, and, this team does not subcontract projects. We have a lot of strong quality control, and everyone knows within the office to some extent, regardless of department, what installations and customers we're focused on that day, that week, that month, or what have you. And that's just such a really important, aspect of working in a tight-knit group, and it really promotes efficiency. And since we are an independent, smaller company, we have full control over our mission and morals. And we do set our own agenda to prioritize our customers. And that in itself really does provide that autonomy and, as a company, and, that important, quality relationships we have. So we get to set our messaging and what our drive is. And that is really important. And we also do really practice what we preach in terms of keeping things local. We offer financing through VSECU, which is a New England-based credit union. We will definitely touch on that in a few more slides. And another advantage of being a smaller company is we get to offer you super high quality products. And that is priceless, especially when it comes to these larger installations. So, how does solar even work? What is this industry? What is it based on? And why are so many people interested in this? So if you just direct your, right into the middle of that diagram right there, I'm just going to walk us through, the bare basics of the most common types of, solar systems, which are photovoltaic solar systems. So those two panels there, those panels are made up of photovoltaic cells. And when the sun's rays hit those cells, they vibrate. That vibration actually produces a type of energy, a direct current electricity. And that in itself, that direct current is something that none of our household appliances pull from. We can't actually use that type of electricity in our everyday movements. That's not something that we actually use regularly at all. So what we need to do is convert that type of electricity into another. So we need an actual translator. And that inverter there down, if you follow that red arrow, is, and I don't know if you 8th grade bio here, but it's like the mitochondria of the cell. It's the powerhouse. The inverter is that, it's not as sleek or clean cut looking as the panels, but the inverter does the work. So that direct current electricity is being translated into alternating current electricity through the inverter. That is the type of electricity we use to power our fridge, to power our phone chargers, what have you, anything in your house, that's the type of electricity we use. So that power, once it leaves the inverter, has a decision to make once it gets to the meter. Do you go back out to the grid, or are you being pulled in terms of demand from your household? So if that can be the case. You could be using it in your house, and there could be, that just full load going right into your household, and you're using that, or you're creating excess electricity or energy rather through your system, and that excess goes out to the utility company via the grid. And when the sun goes down or it's raining or anything like that, where you're not producing energy through your panels, you're going to pull on those credits that you racked up with the utility, and that is going to send that energy back to you. So in some cases, you might even get paid for that excess electricity that you created, because essentially you're producing the electricity, not the utility company. So it's just a really, we'll get into net metering and how that works, but it's a really, if you understand just these bare bones of a photovoltaic system, you understand solar. So in terms of types of solar systems, you have grid connected, battery backup, and off grid. Grid connected is the most common type of system that there is in terms of solar. It's the most common in New Hampshire for sure. And that's the thing, it's grid connected. You have a safety net of power no matter what. It's reassuring. You're not, you have the panels, but you're not fully dependent on the panels production. But the thing is, and then this is why I want to kind of skip past battery backup for a split second and bring up off grid. The thing is, the opposite of if a grid connected system, the grid goes down, there's power outage or what have you. An off-grid system is the opposite. It's like if you have enough energy stored, you're kind of immune to what's going on with the grid, and you just don't have the safety net, unfortunately. But so that's kind of like, it all depends on what's good for you, your preference, and what you're going to be using your system for. And then that does bring me back to battery backup. It's still grid connected, but if the grid goes down, like a tree hits the wire in a storm or something like that, you can run your system off of the batteries. And this is important because no matter what happens, you have your essential appliances and your needs met. Yeah, Eric, did you want to add anything? Did I gloss or glaze over that too quickly, or?
No, I think that was a really good explanation of the three different types of systems. And it should be noted, I think you mentioned, that you can have a grid connected solar system as well as have a battery backup in conjunction with each other. We're seeing that to be more and more common now with the technology of batteries getting better. But no, I think what you said was right on.
Awesome, thank you. All right, so then that is bringing us to what we offer as a company. So we offer 3 types of installations: rooftop, ground mount, and trackers. Now, rooftop solar is the most common solar because it's something we all have. We all have a roof, unless we're, it's a space that we're not using unless you're putting your storage bins up there. But I haven't seen that yet. So I think that, it's a very accessible area that is not actually used for anything. So it makes sense to be able to have that space taken up by something that's going to trap heat or collect heat during the day anyway. It's usually not as impeded by trees too when you're up that higher. Sorry, I'm just admitting someone to the meeting. But sometimes roofs aren't built in the most efficient direction to capture sunlight, which is okay. A lot of houses are built at different angles. We can't control that. So it's great to have that other option of ground mount solar panels. If you have a medium to larger sized property, there's no real limit on space. It all depends on the size of your system and the energy demand, but it's a really great, both of those options are fantastic. It really does depend on what you need. But the thing with both of those options is, guess what? They're not moving. They're in a fixed position. And that is why trackers are extremely fascinating. They're not only cool looking, but they technically are 35% more efficient than traditional rooftop solar because it actually tracks the sun in real time. And if we ever delve into the computer systems of a tracker, it truly, it's amazing how incredibly accurate it tracks the sun throughout the day and with the seasons and everything. But again, it all comes back to what you prefer and what you need. And then with that, I'm just gonna hand it over to Eric to talk about products real quick.
Awesome. Thanks, Jane. So for products, Granite State Solar, we find that we offer value to our customers by sourcing high quality products and offering those products to our customers at competitive pricing. And as Jane has already mentioned, we as a company, we're a relatively local and small company, so we don't have a bunch of overhead, so we can really offer tremendous pricing to our customers, which we are extremely proud of. So in terms of product offerings, the main two types of solar panels that we offer in terms of brand would be Q cells, which is the panel that you see on the left. And then we also offer LG. Many of you will probably know LG from TVs and refrigerators, and they're a big appliance company. So for Q cells is a tier 1 level panel. It's a high quality panel. It's engineered and designed in Germany, and Q cells actually just recently invested close to $200 million to build a manufacturing facility here in Atlanta, Georgia, to supply the bulk of the U.S. market. And that is something that we are super happy to see. And we are, it's awesome to say that, one of the solar panels we offer is manufactured right here in the States. But in terms of LG, LG again is a tier 1 level panel. It's engineered and designed and manufactured in South Korea. And the type of panel that you go with is really going to be dependent upon the amount of roof space that one has in comparison to what your electric consumption is. So if you have high electric consumption but not a lot of roof space, we might lean towards a slightly higher efficient LG panel that offers more power output versus, say, the Q cells, which is a little bit lower in output, lower in efficiency, which might be suitable for someone that doesn't have a high demand for their consumption. In terms of end phase, as Jane was saying, the brains of the system, of the solar system, is that inverter. So we use an end phase microinverter. And what that means, a microinverter, is there's an inverter on the back of each individual panel. So if you have 20 panels on the roof, there will be 20 inverters on the roof as well, servicing each panel. And that picture right there, that's a great picture that shows that the inverter gets secured to the actual rail and the racking system on the roof. So it makes for a very easily accessible to service the inverter if it does ever need to be serviced. It's right behind the panel. And Enphase, their headquarters are actually in the U.S. as well. They are based in California. So for trackers are made by All Earth, and All Earth is a company based out of Burlington, Vermont, and they design and manufacture those systems right in Burlington, which we're super stoked to see. And we've been selling trackers for a number of years. They're extremely popular. As Jane was saying, they're super efficient. They're really nice to have if you have limited roofs, limited ground space, limited area, but you have high power consumption requirements. A tracker would be great for that application.
Great. Thank you so much, Eric. I appreciate it. That was wonderful. Yeah, so why are people going solar, right? That's what are you actually getting out of it as a person, or a household, or even company, what have you. Um, you're going to save a ton of money, and that's not to just say it, blatantly, but over time especially you will save a lot, but you'll even start seeing those savings pretty soon after you install your system. It all depends on the size and the demand of the system, and but there are scenarios where you could end up getting a monthly payment rather than a bill too. So there are many different variations, but overall you will, no matter what, save money installing solar. And then if you are, serious about really reducing your overall costs in general, and decreasing that pollution output, the addition of heat pumps with any solar system is amazing. Heat pumps are usually extremely energy efficient. A heat pump, to me, is, or not just to me, but scientifically, it is basically the alternative to a furnace or an air conditioner. And a heat pump, they're used to heat and cool your home. And the best thing is that they use electricity. And guess what? If you have panels on your roof, photovoltaic system, you're generating electricity. It's a nice kind of clean closed loop system that really reduces that demand for any types of fossil fuel usage, and really that clean energy proposition. So with that, we, with all of those things put together, we're hoping that your savings last long past our 25-year, guaranteed warranty. Um, that's just what we as a company offer, but we know scientifically and financially that your savings should last far beyond that. And that's something to be excited about. I think that's really notable, especially in an industry that's only getting more high tech and, efficient, and kind of cutting edge. Um, and solar energy itself too, in terms of environmentally sustainable technology, solar energy is infinite and abundant. And, it is one of the most cleanest forms of renewable energy that we use, that we've harnessed. And, it's almost always available. It's extremely resilient, especially with the newer systems that are going in. And I think that's just incredibly notable. That's something that we will never lose. And then another last point here, very notable aspect of solar, especially when you're installing it on your home, regardless of the age of your home, solar is a home improvement, and it's a long lasting one, and it can be extremely quantitatively measured. That improvement is not just, gutting out a bathroom and or putting on a new deck or something like that. This is something that, if you go to resell your home or anything like that, that's worth something. And that is also going to be, worth it financially as a good, mechanism of getting folks involved with solar, but also keeping the system going, and letting it live out its life of being efficient. And that's the thing. It's like you're turning your normal electric expense, that we all have. We all don't have solar, right? Turning our electric expense into an investment. And I like to make the analogy of it's mortgage versus rent. You put a down payment on a house and you're paying your monthly mortgage. You're investing in something that is yours. When you pay your rent, that money is essentially kind of going out the window, because you're not investing anything. You're never really going to see it again. And it's not building to something new. So it really, installing solar on your home truly has that quantitative value that you can see, start almost immediately after the system is installed, but definitely over the long term, which is incredible. And I'm happy to answer any questions about that stuff at the end too. So, with that, on the topic of money, there are so many economic benefits in general with local solar. As I mentioned before, you're going to save a lot of money over the long term. Your home's resale value will improve no matter what. It doesn't matter how old this system is. There are incredible tax credit benefits, and that's something that's a deeper conversation maybe for another day, and hopefully we have another webinar on that at some point, but there are incredible incentives on that front. And the best thing is too, you enter yourself into a positive feedback loop by keeping your money in the local economy. That's something that's good for every single one of us. And I think that, you know, with all of these things kind of put together and then adding the opportunity of net metering into this whole process, it's really the potential for not only helping the environment and supporting a really good industry with good values. It really does. It saves so much money in the long term for every single player in the picture. So with that, I'm just gonna bring us on over to our financing options too, and I'm gonna let Eric take over this right here.
Great, thanks, Jan. So, you know, there's two ways to kind of pay for a solar system, right? Here with Granite State Solar, we don't offer a lease offer to our customers. Our customers own their systems, so customers can either, you know, pay for the system outright with their own means of funding, or they can finance the system through our partnered bank, the Vermont State Employee Credit Union. We're super excited to offer local financing to our customers, so, you know, dollars stay local. And VSECU offers a 12-year loan at a fixed 3.99% interest rate. And with what's really attractive with financing through VSECU is that there's hardly any down payment that the customer needs to make to do the project. We only require a $300 deposit from the customer, and the rest of the project can be financed through VSECU. With these loans, the loan is what's called, it's an investment tax credit loan, where the bank is offering to the customer the ability to take any incentive money the customer gets back from doing the solar project and putting that money back into the loan. And as Jane mentioned, we might have a whole nother webinar about, you know, strictly incentives and financing. But it's a great loan that VSECU offers. There's no prepayment penalties if the customer wants to pay off the loan earlier. And because it's a local bank, the application process is very seamless. It's very easy. Customers get connected with their own specific loan officer throughout the loan application process. So communication is extremely good. So VSECU is a very attractive option for a lot of our customers. So the next slide here, net metering. Jane actually really did a great job on the other slide, previous slide, titled "How Does Solar Work?" About net metering. But before I guess we delve into net metering, it should be noted that anyone that doesn't have solar obviously has a meter on their home, and that meter is only spinning in one direction. It's always spinning forwards, and it's keeping track of the amount of kilowatt hours that the home is using or pulling from the grid. Well, once the solar system gets installed, the utility company must come out and swap out the old meter that they have with what's called the net meter. And this net meter is bi-directional. So it's going to be spinning backwards or forwards depending upon the flow of electricity. When the meter spins backwards, that means that electricity is being sold to the grid. And when it's spinning forwards, that means electricity is being purchased from the grid. And on the actual net meter screen itself, the homeowner can actually see in real time which way it's spinning, whether it's spinning backwards or forwards. So this meter is really going to obviously keep track of the flow of power. And each month, the customer will receive a statement just like they normally do from the utility company. And within that statement, if the homeowner has purchased more power than what they have sold to the grid, then they will owe the utility company the difference. Or if they have sold more power than what they've purchased, they will see a credit of surplus electricity on their bill, which would then get carried forward to the next billing period. And that cycle will repeat itself. So with net metering here in New Hampshire, all the states look at net metering differently. So with net metering in New Hampshire, the way it works is utility companies are required to give the homeowner 100% of the supply charge on the bill, and 100% of the transmission charge, and 25% of the distribution charge. So where I'm getting at this is that when homeowners sell power back to the grid, they are getting they're selling that power at 12 cents to the utility company. Right now, the full retail rate of electricity is 18 cents per kilowatt hour. So in order for us to appropriately size the system, because of that net metering differential, we actually have found through our calculations that we need to oversize the customer's system by about 15 to 20% of what they are actually using for the year, to still have the solar system offset all of the 12 months of their electric bills. So it's very common in our proposals that you'll see that the solar system actually offsets more than what you are using, and it's purposefully designed like that because of how you get credited through the net metering process with the utility company.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Eric. And yeah, our next thing on the agenda here is energy storage. I'm sure a lot of folks have heard a lot about this regarding the Tesla Powerwall, which is so prominently in the middle of the slide. And yeah, I'm going to let Eric elaborate on this one as well.
Sure. So with battery storage, right now we currently offer the Tesla Powerwall. And the big advantage of having a battery is that when the grid goes down, the solar system will continue to produce power for you. And you can use this battery as kind of like a generator during power outages, because without a battery, typical grid-tied solar systems, when the grid goes down, your solar panels will not be able to produce. It's basically a safety mechanism. The utility company doesn't want you exporting power into the grid during the day. If power at the street is out, you could potentially hurt a lineman restoring power on the lines if you're exporting power back to the grid. So with a battery, you're able to continue to produce power from your solar panels and also feed your house with that power. But also, one of the key benefits of having a battery is you can also use it as a self-consumption. So what that means is once the night comes and the sun isn't shining and your panels aren't producing, rather than drawing power from the grid through your net meter, you would actually start to discharge the electricity from your battery. And there's an advantage to this because of how you net meter. When I talked about it earlier, when you net meter and you sell power back to the grid, you only get paid at 12 cents, but then you have to buy that power back at 18 cents. So instead of selling it to the grid, if you can put your excess electricity into the battery, you're going to be seeing a higher value for your solar power that's generated, and because you're storing it on site. So these batteries are becoming very, very popular because of being able to use them for self-consumption, as well as being less reliant on the grid, and then also giving you a battery backup solution when the power is out. And we're super excited to be partnering with Tesla with this as well.
Oh, thank you so much, Eric. That was awesome. So folks, that brings us to the end of what we have for you here. That was a lot. There's a lot in a nugget of 30 minutes. So I imagine there are quite a few questions. But just I want to draw your attention to some directionals here. We have encircled in red how you can raise your hand on your screen. So if you click on participants, the little miniature screen will come on down. And then you just kind of hit the raise hand thing, and then I can see it on my end, and then you can ask your question. And then I think what we're going to do too is I might look at the questions in the chat, or if anyone else can see the chat and on my end, that would be good too. All right, I'm just going to bring this over here, and then I have some information here. If you ever need to get in touch, you can take a picture of this screen. But I'm going to try and, let's see. Oops. All right, so in the chat, we have first question from Don Higley. Do Q cells have a warranty?
Yes, the Q Cells panel has a 25-year performance warranty. So what that means is that the panel manufacturer will be guaranteeing a certain level of performance for that panel for the first 25 years.
Awesome. And then another question is, what is the premium for an all-earth system?
Is the customer asking about price, premium price?
I don't know exactly, but I believe we do a lot of trackers only from all Earth. So maybe, is that a tracker question? That's from Don.
Okay. If maybe, Don, if you could maybe further clarify the question.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Yes.
a price question. There we go. Thanks, Don.
So, Don, we would come out to your house and talk to you about the different size trackers that we offer, because you can put either 20 or 24 panels on these systems, and you can put a 330 watt panel on them all the way up to a 400 watt panel. So we'll look at your power consumption and we'll find out which size tracker is going to be right for you.
Nice. And one other question in the chat, what is the storage capacity of current Powerwalls, and do you have a recommendation on how much Powerwall capacity a home should spec install?
Yeah. So the Tesla Powerwall offers one Powerwall would give the homeowner 13.5 kilowatt hours of storage at a full charge, with 5 kilowatts of continuous output. And Tesla recommends that if the homeowner is looking to back up just essential loads like your well pump, your refrigerator, your heating system, if it's off of propane or oil, some lights in the house, your modem or your router, one Tesla Powerwall would be sufficient for your critical loads. But if the homeowner is wanting to back up, say, their whole house, then 2 or 3 Powerwalls might be necessary to accomplish that goal. You can actually daisy chain these batteries, so they're stackable. They can go on the wall or on the ground, and you can connect 1, 2, 3, even 4 Powerwalls together to give you more capacity if you're looking to do like a whole home backup.
Nice, thank you. And I believe we had a little hand up, and I don't know if, I apologize if it's the wrong person, but I think it's Art that had his hand up, but I'm not sure. And if it is, I'm just gonna ask you to unmute, and you can just tell me if that was not you. I don't think so. Okay, mute you. All right, so one other question here in the, on a cloudy day and my panels are down, am I buying energy from the grid?
So I want to get to that question, but I just want to, Jane, if you didn't see that, there's a follow-up question to the Powerwall I think Mark W. He asked if the Powerwall can be
Oh, mounted outdoors. That's a good question.
So it can be mounted outdoors, but you wouldn't want to mount it outdoors in the Northeast where we live. The temperatures are just too darn cold in the wintertime. These batteries like to be operating when the outdoor or ambient temperature that they're surrounded in is around 50 degrees. Obviously, our winters are much colder than that, so we like to the preferable spot for these batteries is in someone's basement, where next to their main electric panel.
Nice.
Sorry, Jane, can you repeat that question that you did just ask?
Yeah, no worries. I think, was it before that or after? Well, another question that just came in that I can see on my end is, I'm building a new house. How do I establish usage before installing heating options?
Yep, so you're building a new house. That's great. Congratulations on that. So what we could look at is, when you're building a new home, one thing you could think about doing is going all electric, right? So putting in an air source heat pump system that gives you your heating and cooling requirements, and then installing a solar system to provide electricity for your heating and cooling heat pump system. That way you can kind of have what's called the net zero home, where you're only you're not going to have a heating bill because you're going to be using electricity, and that electricity is going to be being produced by your solar panels. So we really want to look and see to find out what size of a solar system you need for that new home. We're going to have to find out, how you're planning on heating and cooling the home, what type of electric appliances are going to be in there, and then that'll give us a better determination as to what size system you might.
Awesome, thank you. And I just want to go right back to Diane's question. On a cloudy day and my panels are down, am I buying energy from the grid?
Correct. Yes, you are. If it's a cloudy day, your panels are down in the sense that they are either turned off. You are then buying power from the grid. Yep.
Awesome. All right, and then let's see. What is the most cost-effective current power output of your LG and Q cell panel offerings for residential 60 cell?
Yep. So for a residential 60 cell, we'd be looking at an LG panel that is their Neon R series panel. That has an output of watts of 375 watts, and it has an efficiency rating of close to 21%. I think did they ask for Q cells too?
Yes.
So for Q cells, right now we currently would be offering, it'd be a 330 watt panel with an efficiency rating of about 19%.
Nice, nice. All right. I feel like we hit everything that was just put into the chat. And that you can feel free to add anything more. And I don't see any, oh yes, who's this, Mark, go for it. Let's see, I think
I wanted to ask if, is there any federal or local tax benefits for expanding a system?
Yeah, so you can claim, Mark, your the federal tax credit multiple times. That's an incentive that you can claim more than once. For a state incentive, if you've already claimed the state rebate once, or on that property that you already have solar on, you can't claim that state rebate again. That's a one-time rebate. But the federal tax credit of 26%, right now, you can claim multiple times.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Another question in the chat is there a ballpark cost percentage increase of a tracker system over a fixed ground mount?
Percentage increase. Every system is custom built, so I guess it's going to be dependent upon these fixed ground mounts can come in multiples of 4 panels. So we can build them out from 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24 panels, and so on. Whereas with trackers, they can either come in 20 or 24 panels. So oftentimes, if a customer is interested in both types of systems, we talk about the pros and cons of each system, and when we're out on site, and then we can give them both a proposal for a fixed ground mount as well as a proposal for a tracking system when we are designing the system.
Nice. Well, did that answer your question to the last person in the chat? I think we're good on that. Not seeing any other hands up currently. I think they were wondering if it was a correlation of the 35% cost increase directly. Yeah, do you have anything more to add to that?
35% more. Well, the tracker,
yeah.
In terms of efficiency, the trackers, can technically be about 35% more efficient than a fixed ground mount if you're comparing the same number of panels and the same wattages of panels on both systems. So trackers are going to be more efficient. So like I said, we oftentimes do proposals for both fixed ground mounts and trackers for customers so they can kind of see the numbers up front and in person.
Nice. All right, and we got another question from Mark. I'm going to unmute him.
A question on the batteries again. So while those are functional if the grid goes down, I'm assuming that it will perpetuate itself during the next day, obviously in the winter with lower production, right? So theoretically, if your grid was down for, say, 5 days in the summer, it would still top off the battery during the day?
Yeah, exactly. So as long as you can get through the nighttime mark with drawing off the battery, and then the next day that sun comes back up, the sun will recharge the batteries, and then that cycle will repeat itself all over again.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. All right, and then we have another hand up from Granite Y Health. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is back to the tracker question. I think in general, I'm just trying to get a sense for if you had everything else being equal, full sun exposure, everything, would you put a fixed ground mount in your field, let's say, versus a tracker system? You indicated you get about 35% more power. So cost-wise, is it more effective to go with a tracker if you have that, because it's only 25% more costly versus 50% more costly?
Yep.
That's kind of what I'm getting at.
So,
just a ballpark.
Yeah, if you're comparing that type of a situation, trackers are going to be more expensive than a fixed system, because you have the whole skeleton of the tracker. You have the computer within the tracker that needs to follow the sun. So if you're looking at it on that type of a comparison, a fixed ground mount is going to be the least expensive option between the two systems.
Okay, but a tracker, you could actually generate less power from it in terms of the power size of the numbers of panels, because it's tracking and producing more energy over a period of a day. So that brings the cost of all the panels down if you're using a tracker.
Yeah, I mean, you can generate more power off of a tracker. So say a tracker can produce 13,000, say a tracker produces 13,000 kilowatt hours in a year. If you were to size out a fixed ground mount that can produce 13,000 kilowatt hours per year too, typically a fixed ground mount is going to be the less expensive system.
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
Yep.
Awesome, thank you. So we have another question. When using a power wall, does it kick in automatically when the grids are down, or does it have to be turned on manually?
It does not have to be turned on manually. There's going to be an automatic transfer switch that is installed with the battery system that will automatically start having the home discharge off of the batteries completely seamlessly. So the homeowner will probably not even know that the grid has gone down.
Great, thank you. Alright. Any other quick questions out there? Let's see. Any common questions that you want to address, Eric, that you get on the job?
Let's see. For this webinar with Solar 101, I think it should be noted that the system has warranties, like the panel has the 25-year warranty and the inverter is warranted for 25 years. But I always tell customers to contact their homeowner's insurance when doing this project, because if in the event any type of natural weather event were to damage their solar system, their homeowner's insurance would be the one covering that type of thing. So always check with your homeowner's insurance and make sure that they're going to cover the solar system.
Great, great. And we have a follow-up question from Diane. Does the Powerwall come in automatically at night when the panels are down?
Yes. Yeah. So I think that was kind of a similar question that we got asked was, does the homeowner need to be, flipping any switches or buttons to have the battery operate? No, there's no requirement from the homeowner to turn on the battery. The battery will automatically start providing power to the house when the grid's down and the batteries and the solar panels are not producing power anymore because it's at night.
Great, great. And then another question. What's the optimal angle in our area for fixed panels?
Great question. So optimal angle, or azimuth as we call it, the direction the panel should be facing. The optimal direction is 194 degrees on the compass. So it's just a little southwest on the compass at 194 degrees, and the optimal tilt is 35 degrees.
Okay, yeah. And they also noted that they heard around 36 degrees regarding angle off of horizontal. Is that?
Yep.
Yep.
That the 35-degree tilt on the panels, as you can see in the picture behind on the screen, those panels we try and optimize them at a 35-degree tilt.
Great, great. And how many cycles is the Powerwall good for?
So the Powerwall is warranted for 10 years, and in terms of the cycles that it's good for, that is I'm unsure on that.
Okay. No worries. We can follow up. Alrighty, well, if there are not any more questions, seems like we hit a lot of stuff today. That was amazing. Thank you everyone for coming out. This has been really engaging and interesting. Yeah, well, I hope everyone remains safe and healthy, and always feel free to reach out via telephone or email to us. We're here for you. That's the bottom line. So thanks again, everyone, and have a good rest of your day. And I am going to stop this meeting.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, take care.